Hi guys, coming up next is Bionix from the US, represented by Chet Gottschalk and Brad. You guys have 20 minutes. I suggest you divide it into 10 minutes and 10 minutes for presentation and Q&A session. I will just remind you 3 minutes before your time slot ends, but the time ratio for your presentation is fluid and completely up to your preference. So for the guys watching, again, I will just repeat the basic details. If you would like to connect with Bionix, just hit us in the chat and we will make the connection happen. And now the floor is yours, guys. Welcome.
Thank you for the introduction. I appreciate it. And thank you everybody for your time. So in the interest of time, I will give a quick introduction of Bionix and a short overview of some of our key products. Bionix is a medical device manufacturer. We've been in business since 1984, based in Toledo, Ohio, right in the Midwest of the United States. We've been exporting all over the world for about the past 20 plus years or so. And we have regional support in various areas such as Europe and Latin America. I also have my teammates, Brett Smith and Petra and Martijn on the call today as well. So Martijn and Petra are based in our European office in the Netherlands. And I will get right into some product demonstrations to talk about what it is we do. So our key products focus on ear care. So as you can see here, I have an ear demonstration. So a lot of times what people are doing is using standard syringes for irrigation. This is one single stream that's going towards the sorry, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so we have one single stream going towards the ear canal wall, which can be dangerous. I would demonstrate, but it makes a bit of a mess everywhere. So what I can demonstrate is the Bionix product. This goes out in 3 streams, 30 degrees off center at the ear canal wall, has a flared tip, so it cannot be over inserted into the ear. Nice and snug in the ear canal. You can see that we're going at the ear canal wall, not directly towards the tympanic membrane, and everything is flushing outwards through 3 exit portals on the rear of the tip. We specialize in single-use disposable devices as well, so this removes a lot of the risk for infection prevention and control, cross-contamination, a lot of the concerns that are going on in the crazy world today with COVID especially. So we also have other products such as our safe ear curettes. These were some of the flagship products of our company that were released in 1984. Historically, what you come to find is a lot of people are using stainless steel tools. So stainless steel can be, while it can be effective, it can also be very dangerous at the same time and cause perforations of the tympanic membrane. It can cause, bleeding from the ear canal, and it can all around be somewhat of a dangerous procedure if you have an unruly patient, especially if you're dealing with smaller, younger children. So the doctor that co-founded our company and designed these devices made a tip that is flexible and safe while still being effective. Fast forward about 20 years from our inception in 1984, and they figured out a way to adapt a light and magnification tool to the standard curette that they had developed before. So you look here, you attach it into the light base, and I know it's not the best demonstration here, but you can see how it provides complete illumination in the ear. So historically, what you'd have is you'd be going into the ear canal with your otoscope, visualizing where your earwax or your blockages are, and then you'd have to go in blindly behind that and try and remove everything. This can be time consuming, and it's kind of, trial and error until you get the procedure just right. With light and magnification added to the procedure, you have much more effective, much safer with complete visualization during the entire procedure. So those are 2 of our key products that, was the basis of our company when we were founded. We're active in multiple market segments. We have many more products that I don't have time to cover today, but would love to share with anybody who has further interest. We also have some other products to demonstrate some other areas of our expertise for enteral feeding. So a lot of times, I'll get this big ear out of the picture. So So when you're dealing with enteral feeding, a lot of times with your feeding tubes, they'll become clogged. So we developed a device called a feeding tube declogger that is NFIT compatible. And if you were to have a blockage anywhere in the tube, you put this device in, you go down 2 turns clockwise, 2 turns counterclockwise, and you repeat this procedure until the tube is cleared. So a lot of things that this prevents is if you're dealing with elderly care, long-term care, a lot of times you have to transport the patient back and forth from the hospital or from the facility that they're in to the hospital to have the tube removed, which obviously nobody ever wants to have to remove elderly patients from their existing settings. So a lot of these products provide increased level of care for the patients, and ultimately make the doctor's lives and the patient's lives much easier. So those are a few key products that I wanted to demonstrate, and I want to be conscious of time and open the floor to any questions. Happy to share.
Thank you, very educational. Now the floor for the questions.
Hey Chad, it's Marek speaking here. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Cool. We are in the process of testing those samples. They arrived safely, so we are kind of limited access now to the customers. So I will send you an update shortly. But all the reps love the light and curettes. All the reps loved it. So just let you know. But we need the feedback from customer. Let's be sure.
No, absolutely. We totally appreciate the opportunity to try all the products in the market. And I will say with Bionix products, it is one of those things that it seems simple, but once it gets in the hands of doctors, it really kind of opens up, a kind of a whole new light, no pun intended, just towards how much more effective a procedure can be with additional tools, with additional features and benefits. So, that's kind of been the premise of our founding. You look at some of the areas of specialty doctors that we deal with. Some of our primary customers are general practitioners. We also deal with a lot of pediatricians here in the US. We also deal in the long-term care market, the acute care market, audiology as well. Really anything that focuses on the ear. And then we have wound care lines as well. Enteral feeding, of course, as I mentioned, and many other segments as well. I'm not sure if there's anybody else on the call that has any other questions on the products.
Yes, I mean, very interesting products, and I'd like to, of course, take it offline. But what you mentioned, enteral feeding also?
Yes. So we don't deal with feeding tubes. We deal with feeding tube. A lot of times, medicines and nutrients will get blocked within the feeding tube. And what that causes is the patient now has no way to resort to feed or to receive medication if that's their primary source of receiving that. So the ideal situation is to, reinstate nutrition and medicine as quickly as possible. If you don't have the ability to do that on site, or, a lot of times they'll use maybe Coca-Cola or some sort of enzyme to try and break down that block. But if they're unsuccessful with that, and those can also be time consuming, they ultimately have to send the patient to a surgery center to have the tube removed and reinstalled, which is expensive, time consuming. It's never fun for the patient. So by using the feeding tube declogger, you can reinstate, nutrition and medication right away.
Okay, maybe one question from me. What is your main competition and what is your USP? So how can you actually differentiate your product from others?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are some private label products out there in the market for the disposable curettes. So I'll show these here. So this is our line of non-lighted curettes. And we do see some other disposables in the market. Nobody that has the exact variety that we would carry. However, what we find to be our ultimate competitor is historical practices. So you see a lot of people in the market still using the stainless steel tools. I can confidently say that here in the domestic market, we have almost completely shifted away from that. In the general pediatric or general practitioner setting, nobody's using stainless steel anymore because of the dangers that are associated with it. So, In many markets, we're still finding that people are using stainless steel tools because they didn't have access to some of the tools that we developed. So kind of just historical practices are our main competitor in a lot of markets. And some of the disadvantages of that is you have to send them off to sterilization. This, like I said, the stainless steel ultimately is 100% unforgiving. It doesn't flex. If you were to have any complications, it could perforate the ear canal wall or the tympanic membrane. So the lighted ear curettes right now, there really are no competitors for this in the market. And, you know, these are all single-use devices as well. So, you know, a lot of the infection prevention and control practices that are being implemented, you know, these fall all in line with that. So those are some of our primary advantages. You know, beyond that, I think Bionix has done a really good job since it's being founded in 1984 of listening to feedback. So that's the other thing too. When we hear things from doctors in the market, we understand what, you know, what it is that they're looking for, or what it is that they might need in their market. And we always work internally to try and develop new efficiencies and new features to, you know, meet the needs of the medical field.
Thank you. So would you say the upcoming material is plastic, or?
You know, that really varies from market to market. I have seen just in the past year a huge increase in interest for disposable devices. You know, it seems to go back and forth. You know, they always say history repeats itself. In the domestic market, stainless steel has become, you know, almost obsolete from the point, unless you're in a surgical setting where sterilization is 100% required. You know, these disposables are the go-to devices because all of the products that I just showed you for the ear care are going to be used in the outer ear. So you have three parts: the outer ear, the inner, or the middle ear, and the inner ear. So the outer ear is defined by everything beyond the tympanic membrane out. It is a non-sterile cavity, so there's no need for any products that are being used in the outer ear to be sterile. So for those types of procedures, yes, I would safely say that, you know, a disposable device is the way we see things going right now. Obviously, the markets are always changing and regulations are changing, but with all the heightened infection prevention and control, disposables seem to be, you know, much more well received in a lot of markets.
Chad, my question would be, and you're actually leading me to that, it's non-sterile and it's a single-use device. How do we prevent to be reusing it? You know, it's kind of good habit or bad habit here in these countries. You know, all the things can be washed and kind of re-sterilized even. There's no sterile. So is there any precaution you can make? Of course, it's IFU off label.
Yes, so that's the first thing I was going to say is, you know, we really have to try and rely on the medical community and hope that they follow along with the instructions for use. All of the products are labeled as single-use products and disposable, but Marek, I do appreciate the question because it is a concern. You know, a lot of people out there will try to reuse, and you know, ultimately, we just hope that whatever policies are in place or put forth by government, you know, ministries of health, those sorts of things, that they're followed and adhered to. Our products cannot be autoclaved. So if they do try and put the product in an autoclave, you know, that's not what they were designed for. You're going to start to realize a degradation of, you know, materials over time. And that's obviously something we want to stay away from. So I think one other thing that I can mention is just the cost effectiveness. None of our products are insanely expensive. We try to offer a quality product at a, you know, an efficient price to, you know, allow it to have success in the market. So, you know, that's why some of the things we offer, like we have the non-lighted ear curettes, which are much more affordable, you know, for maybe your public sector, where maybe the private sector might have more interest in a more expensive tool, such as the lighted ear curette. For a reference point, all of our products for the ear care specifically, you know, nothing falls outside of €1 per procedure, which I think is very beneficial.
Thanks.
We have a couple more minutes for a few more questions. Okay, perhaps one more question from me, actually. This might be for Petra as well. Do you see any difference in European and US market regarding the sustainability of the products, for example, or any other differences?
We haven't seen any difference in sustainability. You know, the biggest difference we see are call points and market segments. You know, Chad kind of addressed that specific question a little earlier, and having more to do with infection control and prevention, and particularly kind of the heightened state of things in a COVID era. You know, it is kind of lending toward single use to eliminate some of that.
All right, thanks. Okay, that wraps it up.